You're listening to The Flickcast, a podcast about stuff nerds love. I am Chris Ulrich, and with me, of course, my co-host, Mr. Joe Dilworth. Hello, Joe.
Ooh, Mister, I feel.
I thought it was time. I thought it was time to. Yeah, I thought it was time to elevate you to Mr. Dilworth. They call me
Mr. Yes.
Let's not do a Sidney Poitier invitation. Poor Sidney.
Oh, Sidney.
Yeah. R.I.P. Man.
Oh, he had a good life though, man. I mean,
he did. Fucking trailblazer and
yeah,
all that stuff. Good for him, man. That's just
same thing with Betty White. I mean, 99, almost 100. That's a good life. I'm sad, but I celebrate sometimes, especially folks that get to their 90s and up to 100. It's like, wow, they had a full life, and Betty White especially just seemed to be happy, and she did what she wanted. So, kudos to them.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's the key to longevity in a lot of ways, is that you just enjoy what you're doing and do it with people that you enjoy doing it with. That's a lot of enjoys. But yeah, she seemed pretty happy, and obviously Sidney Poitier, a titan in the acting community, and obviously a leader.
Oh, yeah.
Glass ceiling breaker, whatever you want to call it. But it's just it's unfortunate, but they did have good lives, I think, and they did make a huge contribution to society, and they will be remembered for a long time. So, not that we want to start the show on a bummer, but that's we can't just forget about things that happen.
Exactly. Things in the world happen, and we will comment on them, but we won't make the show a downer. We have
there's some fun stuff going on right now. So
we have other endings to talk about.
That's right, other endings that are bittersweet. So that does bring up the agenda for today. On this episode, we're going to talk about the finale of The Expanse, of course, and we'll get into some Boba Fett a little bit, and probably some other stuff. But the majority of this will be about this Expanse finale. I keep saying Expanse because I don't know how to speak, apparently. I probably shouldn't do a podcast. To the Expanse.
That's what the kids call it. They call it
Expanse. Yeah, what was that? I watched that. It was funny. It's like you got to shorten things down to one name. I was doing Expanse, and what did I say? Oh, that was Rob Lowe giving me that. Anyway, whatever. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so yes, the Expanse finale and Book of Boba Fett, and you had one other thing you wanted to talk about. What was it?
Peacemaker.
Oh, Peacemaker. That's right. Yes. All right. Well, let's just talk about Peacemaker real quick then. Spoilers if you haven't seen Peacemaker, and if you don't know what it is, it's James Gunn's show on HBO Max, and that should tell you all you really need to know, that it's James Gunn's show, and it's got John Cena playing Peacemaker from the movie Suicide Squad movie.
Yeah.
And it's it's unhinged a bit, and reverent and violent and pretty enjoyable, pretty fun. John Cena seems to be having a great time and doesn't have a problem making fun of himself, which I appreciate. But he does manage to get his shirt off a lot in this show so far.
He does. He winds up in his underwear a lot
too. In fact, half of the episode, I guess it was episode 2, where he found a friend and ended up having a huge fight. But that was pretty good. And James Gunn managed to get his girlfriend to be half naked too, which I appreciate. So anyway, I shouldn't say that probably, but anyway, I'm enjoying it. It's funny, it's a funny show, and it's kind of like one of the things that I've been watching that sort of helps you forget the world a little bit, because it's so over the top, like Suicide Squad. It's just super funny. I'm enjoying it a lot. So what do you think of it?
Oh, I love it. I think it's definitely I don't want to say peak James Gunn, but it's pure James Gunn. I mean, the 3 episodes they've released so far, he wrote and directed all 3 of them. So I'm kind of curious to see what happens when some other directors and writers get in the mix. But that title sequence alone is if you're ever watching this or if you're watching it for the first time and the skip intro button comes up, don't do that, because the opening sequence is just. I could talk like the whole show just about that and how awesome it is.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I saw James Gunn tweeted out that was the first thing they shot. And so, and Cena showed up, and he's like, he wasn't sure if he's going to go for it, but he totally went for it. He's not a great dancer, let's be honest, but he definitely.
I like everyone's faces are just blank. And then there's the awkward part at the end with the Eagly, which we'll also talk about, screeching and them trying to remain still. I don't know. This show has like all the quirkiness and stuff that I wish a lot of other shows had, and it's not ashamed to go too far. And I think in a lesser show, it would be like, oh, well, that was just gratuitous, and oh, that's uncalled for. But in this show, it just works and it fits. I don't know.
Well, he's established his character in the Suicide Squad movie, and it's, he is over the top. The whole thing is, I mean, the superheroes, I guess you could say it's absurd that they're superheroes in the first place, but that scene with him and Robert Patrick as his father, like talking about Ratcatcher, and
yes,
that was pretty funny. And Robert Patrick,
he finally gets his Robert Patrick playing
going for it, man, totally going for it.
A complete racist, but also like this miraculous gadget guy.
Super gadget guy, and then of course he turns out to be somebody else, which we won't.
Yes, yeah.
It's not, all things are not as they seem. But yeah, I like the premise. I like the characters. I like John Cena. I think does a good job. He's good at comedy, it turns out, and the supporting cast is good. I like the tie-in to the movie, and we don't
do a lot of that. I thought they would, because I don't know what it gets into if you show clips, if you have to pay people money and stuff. But I thought that they would at least show like focused scenes about him from the movie, but I mean, they had Idris Elba in there and everybody. It was like, wow, except for Margot Robbie. I don't think she showed up in any of the clips they showed, but that was surprising to me. And also a little cameo that was surprising and uncredited that I thought was kind of interesting too.
Yeah, so. and definitely a tie-in to the characters in this show. Which helped. But yeah, I think that they probably had to negotiate for that, but maybe Margot Robbie's too expensive, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what their deal is. This wouldn't be considered promotion for Suicide Squad. It could be, right. we own the likeness, your likeness, playing that character. We can do whatever we want, but I'm sure there was something. But it's not I try not to make this a show about what's someone's deal, or whatever, or
exactly.
Contracts and shit, but it happens sometimes, so I apologize. But anyway, I think the absurdness of he likes poking fun at superheroes. I think that's why he was perfect for Guardians of the Galaxy. He was perfect for Suicide Squad. He's perfect for this kind of stuff.
And they made comments about Aquaman and other characters, and well, that's what this guy on Twitter said. It's like, and he pokes fun at like information passing around the internet. I don't know. It's just it is. I suppose if you want to boil it down, it's a show that way exceeds the sum of its parts. I mean, it's amazing, and I wasn't sure at first if I was going to like it because some of the things I heard about it, like Robert Patrick playing racist and stuff like that. But I don't know, and I guess in the vein of Baby Yoda, Grogu. Eagly may be the breakout character too. Eagly's pretty awesome.
Maybe, yeah. I think you can have a character like Robert Patrick's character if it's satire. I mean, it's basically he's so over the top that it's almost parody at this point of people like that. And so I think that's if you want to have it, you can. If you're going to poke holes in the idea, like he's doing with like finding information on the internet and stuff like that. I can't believe Noob Master 69 or whatever. That's not the character's name. I was like, I can't believe he lied to me, or whatever.
Yeah.
I just Noob Master 69 is always a good name for anything. But so if you're poking fun at stuff, if it's satire, if it's so over the top that obviously this is how people are in some ways because they're clearly stupid or whatever or clearly wrong about their beliefs, and it's so absurd that people think this that it can't possibly be true, but some people find it true. And so it's just if you're satirizing it and if you're showing how ridiculous it is, then it's probably okay. But yeah, I don't know. I don't necessarily. I guess he's just trying to be topical. Maybe I don't know.
I think it has a good. It's a good. Plot point too, because Chris Smith, John Cena's character, Peacemaker, is. I mean, I think it's important to show where he came from, and I think he is even realizing, talking to his dad and also interacting with the other characters, that he's kind of coming out of being that way, and to a certain extent. And it's kind of like, oh, so it's sort of the plot point of giving his character growth.
You got to start from somewhere, right? But And so he can change. But you can make the case that Peacemaker was never evil. He's not like a super villain. He's not a bad guy. He just follows orders. He believes in peace. He believes in whatever, and is willing to do whatever it takes to get it. But I guess not whatever it takes to get it. Which is why you have to.
Yes.
Because in the movies, like, I don't care how many, whatever, I need to get peace. I love peace at any cost. But now, that's not the case. He's growing, he's changing, and the other character has no problem doing that. And so that's why he's there, I guess, because you're trying to humanize Peacemaker a bit and make him more sympathetic and more of a hero, maybe not necessarily, but not a villain for sure. Like Batman. Batman still beats the shit out of people. And he's considered a hero, but he's a vigilante, right? So it's like it's a gray area, but you don't want the main character of your show, I guess, to necessarily be a bad guy. Although you could, so I don't know. But I think it's good that they're trying to change him a little bit. Or you could make the case that he was always like that, and we're just peeling back the onion, right? Peeling the layers now. So we're
because I think the reason why they showed it at the top of the show is him having to kill Rick Flag is obviously affected him quite a bit.
Yeah.
Kind of shaken him. And so he's like, whoa, is this really what I want to be and what I want to do? And it sounds funny discussing that in a show that is like over the top satirical and humorous, but there is quite a few dramatic and poignant moments in the show as well. So I think that's kind of one of the strengths of Gunn is that he's able to kind of weave those threads pretty well. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I agree. I mean, look at something like Guardians of the Galaxy with Rocket, right? I mean, Rocket is this.
Oh yeah,
it's a talking raccoon, for God's sake. But you've humanized him, and you're humanizing Peacemaker. And I think he's just trying to. He tells a dramatic story using humor to sort of diffuse really uncomfortable situations, or at least give them some other layers, if you will, or whatever. And so he just wants to say what he has to say, but doesn't want it to be hitting people over the head necessarily, but also wants it to be enjoyable because it can't just be all a downer too, right? Because you have to have some humor. So
I will point out that Jennifer Holland and Danielle Brooks are awesome in this show, and probably the breakout actors and characters because they just are fantastic. And I don't know, I like that we have a lot of characters in the show that we are also learning things about and some surprising things, but they are being used, those characters, and the actresses are portraying them fantastically to kind of also make comments about sexism and racism, and they are just doing a great job. So
yeah, be careful though, man. You want the show to be too woke, right? So be careful.
Yes.
Just kidding. I'm fine with it being woke. Whatever that means even. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're absolutely. The characters are definitely, they're getting the word out, and having these situations where these things can come up and be addressed is great. Like the scene in the bar when she's just trying to have a drink, man. And all these guys are just coming up and doing, I mean.
She just wastes that guy. That was pretty great.
You don't, and these are the things that you don't think about if you're not a woman. I mean, women must have to deal with this shit all the time,
every single day, all the
time, yeah. And, as a male, you don't necessarily think of it. So it's good that this stuff gets brought to light because it makes people think about, maybe maybe I should have been thinking about this stuff before. Maybe this is going on. I didn't realize it. So it's good. Of course, some people will hate the show because of that, probably. But
I'm sure. But yeah, it's definitely. It's obviously definitely about Peacemaker. There's growth because they even showed the clip in the from the movie where he says, I believe in peace no matter what. I don't care how many men, women, and children I have to kill to get it, and that actually comes up in the third episode. And
that worked in the context of the film because he wasn't a main character necessarily,
right?
So he could be that extreme, and it worked for the sort of dramatic, all that stuff in the movie. But now, if you're doing a TV show about that character, he can't be necessarily that way, especially if you're trying to, tell a different kind of story. It's not Suicide Squad anymore. It's Peacemaker redemption story or whatever.
Yeah, but I would contend that killing Rick Flag and almost killing Ratcatcher it had that effect on him. So when it comes around in the show, he's like, well, hold on.
Well, and almost dying too.
Well, yeah, that too.
I mean, Idris Elba's character shot him, right? And if you haven't seen Suicide Squad, sorry, spoilers.
But, we're spoiling the hell out of it. But
so he almost died, and that can change you for sure. And you have to examine your life, especially if you've been doing things one way and now.
I mean, it's not too fast or too dramatic of a change, because there is can you turn up the gain or whatever on the X-ray so I can see my muscle definition a little bit better, because I spent a lot of work on it, and
my small muscle groups,
it's like, what? It's I don't know, it's a pretty fantastic show, and I agree with you. It's kind of one of those shows that is kind of needed right now. It's not dystopian. It's not like a plague ravaged Earth. It's silly, and it does have some poignant and dramatic moments, but it's like way over the top, but it all just kind of works well together, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I feel like if James Gunn wasn't working within the confines of Marvel, then this would be more like what Guardians of the Galaxy is like.
I
think the Guardians of the Galaxy characters would be much more irreverent and especially Quill, because I think he would be, and also Rocket. They would just be much more like, I feel like Quill and Peacemaker have like kindred sort of a little bit.
I could see that, yeah.
And it's just I just, when are we going to get the Nathan Fillion cameo? That's what I want to know. But anyway,
right.
It's coming up, man. It's coming up. So yeah, if you haven't watched Peacemaker, it's definitely worth checking out. If you like James Gunn movies and irreverent sort of humor and characters that are on their way to be redeemed or not, but it's got a lot of good things going for it. It's funny, and that's the thing. It's funny. If it wasn't funny, that would be a problem. But since it actually is funny, that really helps. Humor softens the edges of some of this stuff that we're talking about for sure. So.
I guess I was incorrect earlier. James Gunn did write all of it. He just doesn't direct every episode.
I was going to mention that. He wrote them all, but he directed 5 episodes, I think, or 6, and then there's a couple other directors. So
I'm kind of curious to see. I don't know. He's pretty smart, and I'm sure he's going to bring in people that are going to keep his visual aesthetic.
Yeah. He's still the executive producer and the creator and the writer and whatever. I just think he couldn't do everything, because he's also he did this show while he was finishing Suicide Squad and starting Guardians of the Galaxy. So it's like, I have to concentrate on the giant movie that I have to do.
Yeah. I like people asking, hey, this is great so far. Are we going to get a second season? And he's like, yeah, if we do, I need a break.
I'm sure he's open to another season. I don't know what happens at the end of this season. I'm sure Peacemaker doesn't die, but
no. And there was some talk somewhere that he mentioned that he's also working on another TV series for DC.
Ratcatcher? No, I don't know.
No, he said he was not going to say what it is, but
that's Ratcatcher, obviously.
Sure, and I'm sure DC is like, Suicide Squad was pretty successful. The show is pretty successful. What do you want to do? And Marvel is probably at the same point hey, you want to come back? I think he's probably going to do. My opinion is he'll do Guardians and the Guardians holiday special for Marvel, and then just kind of be done. And I think he'll finish those stories and live in the DC world for a while, which I think is great. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, maybe. I guess we'll see. I think he's not done with Marvel, though. I bet he'll do another Marvel movie at some point. Maybe not Guardians, but maybe a lot of things coming. I'd like to see James Gunn's Blade. I would watch that show. But
I want to see James Gunn redeem by doing a movie of Howard the Duck. I think that would be awesome.
Oh man, Howard the Duck. Yeah. Well, I kind of, I don't know why, but I kind of have a soft spot for the Howard the Duck movie. Maybe because Leah Thompson's in it, but I just, it was so, no, it's not great by any means, but it's just so.
But it was weird and out of left field at the time, especially.
So. I feel like there was a lot of drugs involved, but that's okay.
That's probably true. Pet Avengers, that's what I want to see James Gunn do.
Pet Avengers, there you go. So,
maybe. Howard the Duck assembles the mightiest pets for the Pet Avengers. That would be great.
That's right. Well, then, he could do more DC stuff too. Maybe he wants to get out of superhero stuff. Maybe he wants to do
that. Could be. Maybe he wants to get back to his own stuff.
More original-ish stuff. Anyway,
I'll watch what he does.
I'm not worried about his career.
Yeah, I think he'll be okay.
Even though people were trying to give him a hard time about stupid tweets from before, which, in hindsight, they were stupid to say. But, I don't think that someone should lose their career for saying stupid things.
He even said, yeah, these were stupid. And I said these a while ago. And then years later, they come back up again. It's like, oh, fire him. It's like, wait, what?
You have to get, that's his humor, though. And I don't know that though some of that stuff was good topics for humor, but at least I know he was joking,
Yes.
It's bad jokes.
He doesn't actually believe that.
He doesn't actually believe that. I can't believe that he does. But, it's easy to think that people in Hollywood are like that because, unfortunately, there's a lot of pieces of shit who work in Hollywood.
Sure.
And in other businesses, too. But it's more, people are more prominent in Hollywood. So it's easier to know how they treat women or how they treat people, or how they treat whatever. It's just, it's out there. So, anyway.
So we've talked about a show that's beginning. Now we should talk about a show
that's ended.
On
a high note, I guess. I'm just okay. We're going to talk about the Expanse series finale, I guess we'll call it.
Yes,
and there might be some
for now.
Yeah, question mark. There might be some spoilers, so I don't know.
We'll
try not to talk about it spoiler too much, especially if you haven't watched it yet. But I feel like if you're a true fan of the Expanse, you've already watched the finale several times, like I have. But
yes.
I would say, at least in my humble opinion, and since this is half my show, I think my opinion counts. Anyway,
yes, it does.
I guess. Very good finale, and I was surprised that, I guess not that surprised, but sort of surprised that, big spoiler, all the main characters survive, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, all the good guys basically survive.
Yeah.
So even, and it didn't end the way that we thought it would exactly, but it sort of did a little bit, but not the same way. We didn't. One of our predictions, I guess, or one of our thoughts was that Marco's kid was going to off him, but that didn't happen.
No, or I also thought the second in command was going to off him.
Yeah,
and that didn't happen.
Well, they had enough. Yeah, that was the thing. I realized, or I feel that they had to have some casualties during the war. So the casualties were like all the secondary characters,
right?
Like Drummer's second in command guy, he got killed, and Marco's girlfriend got killed, and then of course Marco had to go. But
yes.
But Naomi, her plan was pretty smart, and she sacrificed a lot. But then, twist, right? So I don't know. I kind of wonder why that happened exactly. I mean, I was prepared for one or more of the main characters to buy it, but it didn't happen.
Some of them got really close.
But I don't know why, but I never felt like Bobby or Amos were in grave danger. I never thought I didn't think they were going to die.
I think it seemed to me that some of the dialogue that Amos did, that they were trying to pull us in that direction. That's like, oh, yep, Amos is going to go. So that when certain scenes happen, you'll be like, oh, this is it. But yeah, I didn't think they ultimately would kill them off. But gotta say, I mean, it's been all season. I think it's been, Kamina fucking Drummer, but let's also kind of praise Bobby Draper too, because she's badass.
She is. Well, so, you're absolutely right. Like when Amos says, "I'd rather get shot in the front," I'm like, okay, he's gonna die, and he's gonna sacrifice himself maybe to get Bobby closer.
Well, and he tried to as well to save her. He's like, all right, I'll take this. I'll take all these hits for you.
Right, he did. And then, of course, Holden came in at the end. But
yeah.
Good old Holden. Officer All has a great line for him, which is absolutely true. What does she say? You're such an optimist. It's no wonder you've lived this long. It's so true.
Yeah, exactly. It was very true.
Great line from her. And her, like, man, her like smile to him at the end was like, you fucking
yes, yeah.
She's so good. She was so good in the show. I'm sad that it's over because of her mostly, but it's like, man.
You think they'd learn though, because anytime Holden's been by anyone in the show ever has been pushed into a corner, he comes out of it, but not in a way that you expect. So I did like the whole thing where he's like, it needs to be an independent organization, blah, blah, and Avasarala's like, well, what if the leader of it was, and it's like, oh, she's describing Holden, and then they all just slowly turn and look at him. It was like, oh, that was just beautiful.
Yeah, I knew that.
But then his little twist was great.
I knew that's what was coming. Actually, I could tell that we're building to that. It's like, well, we need someone who's totally impartial, and I'm like, yeah, it's Holden, obviously. So
it works for everybody.
Well, then why is he even at the table in the first place in that scene? He's not in charge of anything. So why was he there, right? So
right, exactly.
He was there for that purpose. But yeah, his twist was great. It was a very satisfying ending, and I just think it was. I don't know why. Looking back, I have to go back and watch the show again. But it was more upbeat and hopeful than I sort of thought the show would be. I guess that's what I'm responding to. I don't have a problem with upbeat and hopeful, but it's just.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Holden's still being himself, though. Even at the last minute, he's talking about, we still got to find that proto-molecule. We still got to do this.
He brings up the dangling plot threads, which I thought was great. And then Naomi's like, let's just
shut up for a minute. Yeah.
Which there is a pretty big... I just wonder if they left some stuff the way they did in order to try to convince someone else to either continue the story or do a different show, because, I mean, there's a pretty big plot thread hanging open. Whatever's going on with the proto-molecule at Lacona on the other side of the gate, that was, like, not resolved at all. And it only really tied in this episode that the guy that is advancing the proto-molecule over there and trying to do something with it was supposed to be Marco's backup, and spoiler, he was like, "Yep, nope. Thanks for the distraction.
Yeah, peace out, Marco.
Do what I want to do.
Good luck with you.
Good luck." Yeah, but that's like still that was not resolved at all and barely tied into the story. So it's like, are they going to announce, "Hey, we have a sequel series," or we've been picked up by someone else, or are they using that as a vehicle to shop around and try? I don't know. It just seemed odd that they introduced that this season as prominently as they did and left it completely hanging open. I don't know.
Well, I mean, we've talked about this before. Stories don't end and get tied up completely, right? So there's got to be there's some loose ends in life. Sometimes things just stop. So the main characters, the Rossi story is basically done, right? The Holden saves the universe again is basically done, and so they can go on with their lives and sort of have quote unquote normal lives. But as Holden points out, there's a lot of loose ends. But
he got his crew finally. I mean, I liked the scene where they were all sitting there eating, and he was just like almost beaming because he's like, "I got my crew. I got a crew now, and I'm good and I'm happy."
Although one of his crew is ill, so who knows? But
well, yeah, that's true.
But she can last a while. But
it's sci-fi; they can figure out a way.
Right? There'll be the proto-molecule will cure her. But
yes.
Yeah, it was nice that came kind of full circle too, because Julie Mao was the original sort of catalyst for this entire thing, and then her sister ends up being on the Rossi at the end, which I thought was a cool sort of bookend for the show. And she's been super helpful. And originally she wanted to kill Holden and decided that he was cool. And her and Amos, I don't know what's going on with them. Maybe nothing, but everybody.
She proved herself to everybody, even Naomi. So that was good. The only thing I wanted, and I know it totally would not have worked, and it would have been really dumb to put in the show, but I just wanted, like, at the end of the show, when Holden and Naomi are there, that Holden, she lays against him, closes her eyes, and Holden looks over, and in the other side of the room, there's Proto-Molecule Miller, and he goes, "You done good, kid." And
thumbs up. He thumbs up him, yeah.
I would have, I don't know, I think that probably would have been groan-worthy and pretty lame, but I think that would have been nice.
He skips off down the corridor or something.
Yeah, because he was a pretty major character in presence in the show for, almost for most of it, really.
Yeah.
And it would have been nice, because I know that Thomas Jane directed an episode this season, so it would have been nice to have just, I don't know, had that last little acknowledgement. But maybe that would have been a step too far.
Maybe, but I feel like his story was resolved, right? He went off with Julie.
Yeah,
they both became proto-molecule creatures. And
I know.
His job was basically to help Holden figure out what he was going to do, and Holden figured it out. And, you need sort of I feel like if I'm equating this to a Marvel movie, Holden is like Captain America, right? I mean, he's the moral sort of. he's the moral compass of the show, and say this is what we should do. It doesn't necessarily mean it's good for you or good for you. It's what we should do. We should do the right thing, which is the gate should be in the hands of the Beltas, right? So, and it is, and I still love the fact that Drummer was just a guest star. Carrie G was just a guest star for like 2 episodes or 1 episode, and like it became this whole thing. And the show was better because of it. And and her storyline was, I think, one of the most interesting because she's come the farthest, really. Because Holden was always,
she wasn't even in the show until the 2nd season, right. So she Holden was
always
2 and 3,
was always the hero, right?
Yes,
and Amos was always the badass, and Bobby's always badass, and whatever. And they. Amos's character developed quite a bit, but she, I think, came the farthest from where she was, but also kind of stayed the same in a way too, and stayed true to her nature, which is, this is what you should do. She's like Holden. They're kind of like almost complementary in a way because she has a moral compass for the belt. It's like, this is what you should do. We've been put in our place enough. We're done with that shit. We're gonna, we're tired of having a voice. Take my word for it. That was a great scene, by the way. That whole thing with her talking about how my word isn't good enough. Your word is supposed to be taken. Mine isn't good enough. I think that was really smart. And that that just makes her such a great, strong character. And it's funny to see her in interviews, Cara G in interviews. She's so like sweet and nice.
She's almost bubbly and completely different than Drummer. It's great.
Well, it's not like Drummer's a dick or anything, but she's very, very very businesslike. And but she did have that moment when she was suiting up to go to start the fight, where she looked at the empty beds of her family and they were gone. She's like, "I'm doing this for you, man. I'm doing this for the people that aren't here. I'm doing this for for all the belt, the people who aren't here to benefit from this, and who should be, and also for the future." And that, I thought, was a great beat that they had for her too. What a great character. Great work from her, from Cara G. Great acting. Yeah, that's the thing. We talked about this before. I think that you could say there were no bad. Even Marco, well, he was still bad, unfortunately.
Though, I realized that might have been, even if they weren't thinking about it, almost intentional, because he just kind of at the end ended up being this. I think he was like, I want to do this thing, and then I think he kind of got into the cult of personality and was more interested in being this big guy, because that he gives that one last speech towards the end of the episode and towards the end of the fight. That, I mean, everybody around him, even though they end up chanting with him, they're just defeated, and he's still trying to position this as, come on, you plucky folks, let's go do this thing. And I just think he, especially once he realized Duarte wasn't going to help him out, that he's just like, we're going to ride in. I'm going to be like the dude in, now I can't remember the name of it, the Kubrick movie where the guy rides the missile in. He's like, I'm going to be that guy now because I got nothing else going on at this point. So we might as well flame out and call it good. And I just think he had people around him that were telling him what was best. But even then, he was just like, no, we're going to do this. And even his second in command was like, well, that's stupid. And he's like, nope, we're going to do it. And I just think he was all show. And I think if he had won, he wouldn't have had any idea what to do. And I think somebody would have killed him to take over. So maybe the way he was portrayed was intentional.
Oh, I'm sure it was.
Kind of show him as this. I mean, we started calling him Captain Guyliner because I'm like, can his eyes get any more dark? It's like, geez, dude, lay off.
That's a Belter thing, though. I mean, it's like,
I know.
Drummer has that, although she's a woman, but still, I think he was supposed to be more of a caricature. He was supposed to be a figurehead, and that's why his son was like, you know what, this guy doesn't know shit. And and you're right. That scene was he's still trying to rally the people, but he hadn't been defeated necessarily. I mean, he's still. You could make the case had some ships and had accomplished a lot and still rallied the belt. A lot of people who were disenfranchised or angry about how things had gone, and he's not a complete idiot. I mean, some of his tactics with like faking the freighter and all that.
Yeah,
that was pretty smart. Yeah. So he knows the Belter tricks, right? But he's not. He's more of a, like you said, he's more of a figurehead. He's more inspirational. to people especially when they're winning. And then, but his confidence was shaken. That was the other thing too. I think that rally was more for him too than anything else. Be. I mean, he was never a person who could admit that things were going to be, that he was going to die or that he was going to be defeated. He had the singular belief in his own survival and his own ability, and only at the very, very end veer off,
it's like whoop, too late.
Fuck, and that's the end. And then you can see it on the face that sort of freezes there for a second, which was creepy as hell, by the way.
That was pretty satisfying, though. More satisfying than if they just we blew up his ship or we shot him. That was pretty satisfying. So.
Well, I wonder. I'm sure there was discussion about how to kill Marco, because obviously he had to die. So I'm sure there was discussion in the writers' room or whatever, or maybe that's how it is in the book. If this is from one of the books,
that could be. Yeah.
But how does he die? I mean, because Holden doesn't kill him, but he's like, yeah, we're definitely going to kill him. But he doesn't, right? He doesn't get that satisfaction. Naomi has to be the one to do it, right? So she had to be the one to figure out the plan that would end Marco. And, and luckily she gets a huge break. I don't know that she knows that yet, but.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah, I don't think she does, but maybe she does. Who knows?
And he gets to use her name, which I thought was Anyway, that's a big spoiler, by the way. I don't want to say what happens necessarily, but
I liked a little reconciling between Amos and Holden when Amos is like, "Well, if to kill Marco is the plan, I'm sticking around," and Holden's like, "You're definitely sticking around.
We're definitely going to do that." Yeah,
yeah. It's like, okay, cool.
Well, I don't think there was ever a situation or an idea that Amos would ever leave Holden. Not really.
No.
I think he was just having a crisis. He's like, what the fuck am I doing here? We're not killing. I don't understand. It was like, I don't understand. I thought we were doing one thing. He's like, he even says
it doesn't seem to be what we're doing.
Right. Yeah. He even says it to Bob. He's like, I understand what Holden does, but now I don't know exactly what he's thinking. But I think they had their sort of would turn to each other. I mean, you could tell they were already back fine when they were getting ready to drop in those pods. It's like, I'm good. So it's like they're fine. Amos was never going to leave Holden, just like he was never going to leave Naomi. He was just
that's his family.
Yeah, he needed a nudge back into the fold, and like you said, Bobby was the exact right person to be there, and just to say, you don't leave your family. You just don't. And so you go back and you deal with the bullshit and you figure out what to do from there, which is why he said, I'm all for fighting. He's like, I don't want to leave. I'm all for fighting if we're going to kill, going to kill Marco. And he's like, yep, we're definitely going to do that. So they were already on the same page at that point, him and Holden. So,
and Holden had his I'm serious face on. So you knew what was going to happen.
That's right. He was wearing a serious.
We should give a quick shout out to the nice little internal Easter egg and shout out to many characters across sci-fi movies, books, video games, and all the board with everyone in the pods. It's like every single name on there is somebody from from something, and it was. Thankfully, of course, the internet paused that. Screen captured it and it's out there to see, but it was pretty pretty great.
I didn't need the internet, damn it. I saw it. I was like, does that say Hudson? And it did, and it said, oh, that's Hicks. And then I paused it myself and went, whoa.
Yes.
Sarah Connor, Ellen Ripley,
Kevin Flynn, just William Riker. There's tons on there, and it's there's a lot I didn't know. So
Rick
that
Deckard.
I did go to the internet. Yeah, yes, I went to the internet to because there's people from Halo and Mass Effect and Titanfall. I don't play those games, so I don't know the characters, but they were obviously showing their love for the things that inspired them and preceded them, and that was I think that was really cool.
Well, and you also need names for characters, and so it's like these are characters that are cleared in the public domain, kind of. And it didn't say Rick Deckard; it said R. Deckard. That could be anybody, or it said D. Hicks. So I was just I don't know, because they had a nice close up on it, and they stay on it for a second or two, and I'm like, that literally says Hudson, because it's basically from wow, that's like when I first saw it, I was like, wow, this is like Aliens, and then as you go deeper into it, it's like, wow, it really is, and now look, those characters are
Hicks
there.
and Vasquez, and it's like, oh wait, yeah.
I didn't see Apone. I don't know if Apone was.
No, I know. It's like, come on.
And I didn't see Spunkmeyer, and I didn't see. Oh no, Spunkmeyer didn't go in. Who were the other ones? I don't remember. There was Apone. There was Vasquez. I remember. Drake. Oh, that's right. Drake was the other guy. That was Mark Rolston's character, Drake.
Yeah, you do have to have names. I mean, a lot of times shows will use crew names to fill those out, but it's like, no, we're going to use this to kind of honor the folks that inspired us.
A conscious choice on like the producer's part, or do you think that was like the art department or the graphics people just doing nuts for fun? I don't know.
It's hard to tell in this. Usually those things are left. The same reason why there's in one of the schematics of the Enterprise in the bridge or the engineering section on Next Generation, there's a side schematic of the Enterprise, and there's like a rubber ducky in there, and there's a car and some other stuff. So some of those things are done.
And don't forget the bowling alley.
Department. Yes, right. The art department does that stuff, or people lettering or doing the graphics do that stuff. I like to think this was a group effort that they're like,
I bet it was.
Go crazy, because those things still do kind of have to get approved by producers and stuff. And if they were like, oh, no, that's too obvious, we don't want to do that, change it, they would have. But
I would imagine,
oh, that's good.
I would imagine as they're shooting this, practically that's just a green piece of paper that they're looking at.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that stuff is added in post. But yeah, I would imagine that, it all has to get approved. Like, so here's the screen we're going to use. And they're like, yes, that's awesome. So,
yeah.
Anyway,
well done, guys.
Whatever the origin of that, it was great. And so, and I'm very happy with myself that I noticed it. And on the first viewing, I've watched the show twice now, or the episode twice, but on the first viewing, I noticed it. So kudos to me.
I did too. I noticed the Hicks and Hudson. I was like, wait a second.
For being a sci-fi nerd, right?
Yeah, and then my wife actually saw it. She's like, oh, there's Ripley. And I'm like, oh, it's sweet. Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, it was super cool. That to me is just another one of the many, many reasons why I love this show. It's like, the creators of this show and the creators of the books love sci-fi, and they have so many influences that they wear on their sleeve in a way and say, this is the stuff that came before us, and we respect it, and we're trying to tell a great story in that tradition. And that's terrific. And I think that they did an excellent job. I'm sorry the show's over, but I understand that things have to end. I'm just, as we said before, we're just happy to have had 6 seasons of a show that we can always go back and watch again, which I'm sure I will. Because I
definitely will.
I feel like there's things that I missed in the whole series, and there's things that are unsaid or unresolved. But again, that's like life. Everything isn't resolved neatly, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll get more Expanse in the future.
My biggest thing that I loved about the show was that it was a smart show. It was a little bit more hard sci-fi, and it didn't spoon feed you things, and it expected that you would pay attention and also be smart. And so it just was so well done. We've talked about this before. The world building was, next level, as they say. Acting was just fantastic across the board, except for maybe Marco, but maybe there was a reason for that. And
I don't want to diss Keanu Alexander too much. I think that he did what he was told. I mean, if someone didn't like the performance the first time, they would have said something. I think you're right. I think they were trying to make him over the top and more like almost unbelievable, like a game show host maybe, or like a whatever.
Right.
He's like an influencer more than a leader kind of thing. So
Exactly.
And to make some commentary perhaps about current situations or recent situations.
Right.
So
look how far someone can bluff their way through.
Exactly. With no real plan for the victory. Right. It's like, we have no plan for victory. We just have a plan to fight. I just know how to fight. I'm just doing for all the belts.
I just want to be popular and
for the belts and Loda, so I just want to go out there. But great show. Bummer. Sad that it's over. Bummer.
Well, now it's time to read the books.
Now it's time to read the books. Yeah. I just remember one of the things that I appreciated about the show when I first started watching is like, those ships are flying backwards. No, they are decelerating.
Yes.
That's what you do in space. And I was like,
yes,
cool. I don't know why I thought that was cool. And it's still weird to see, on screen, because you're always used to like Star Wars or Star Trek or whatever, the ships are flying in a certain direction, orbiting the planet or whatever. It's like, that ship is going backwards. No, it is decelerating.
It's decelerating. Yeah. The ships don't fly around like X-wings in a dogfight and stuff in this, but
they don't. But you can remember the rationale for that is that the Death Star is so big it generates its own gravity field. So
Yep, exactly.
I'm just saying. Anyway, there's a logical explanation for everything.
If you think about it long enough.
If you think about it long enough, I've had how long has Star Wars come out now? 40-something years ago.
A few years.
I finally figured it out why it would happen. The Death Star was just that big. That's no moon. That's
we're 5 years away from Star Wars being 50. So
that's crazy.
I know. Let's not think about that.
Let's not think about that. Yeah, and we're still talking about it. So thank goodness. Speaking of Star Wars, we should touch on Book of Boba Fett, episode 3. I guess it was, right?
Chapter 3. Yes.
Chapter 3, the Gangs of Tatooine, or whatever it's called, or Mos Espa. Anyway, back to a Robert Rodriguez episode again, sadly.
And what the hell? I mean,
and what the hell? Yeah, I don't know. As much as I like some of it, I have lots of questions. Like I like the flashback stuff with Boba and talking about his, where he comes from and everything. And I like some of the stuff that he does in the town. But the tough youths on their bikes who can't afford water but can afford these fancy speeders. Who came out of like nowhere. It's nice to see Stephen Root.
That was a nice touchback to American Graffiti, right? A nice homage to George and his love of,
I guess,
race cars and stuff.
I guess, but it's just, it didn't make much sense. Although I was happy to see, I can't remember the actress's name, but the lead sort of girl in that is also in one of my other favorite shows, Yellowjackets.
Oh, okay, cool.
She plays the younger version of Juliette Lewis in the show. So
I gotta say, I mean, I don't know. Robert Rodriguez even made the scenes where BK is throttling Boba look boring. I don't know. What the hell's going on with him? I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was another flat. It just fell flat. The second episode was terrific and really, really good. And this was like 8 steps back. I don't know.
I mean, it's not all him. There has to be the writing. There has to be other things involved. I mean, I don't know. I was having this discussion with some other people, and I said Rodriguez is also a producer on the show, an exec producer. And I don't know if that's just the credit he gets when he directs episodes, or if that's his credit the entire time, or if he's actually functioning as an exec producer on the show. But I think he is. Yeah. So it can't all be Favreau and Filoni. I feel like you're right. I think that in some ways was an homage to American Graffiti, George's love of souped up things, but it didn't make sense necessarily from and I'm actually tired of what faction is what. I mean, I already don't care about that. That's another thing that's boring.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah.
I like BK, and I like that. It was nice to see him do some stuff, but then he left, and then the Rancor was cool to see, and
the Rancor owner.
Right, and Trey shows up, of course, but
yes,
which is cool because Danny's a good guy. So what the hell? I'd like to have him in everything. He's cool, but
and the inevitable Stephen Root appearance as well. So
yeah, I love Stephen Root. Yeah, I'm like, don't turn your back on that guy, especially.
No,
he will burn this. He will burn this motherfucker to the ground, man.
Yes, exactly.
But his character was like, I guess he'll come back, but it's like, I'll take these credits and I'll plot my revenge later against the Utes.
Yes.
So,
what?
Yeah. I don't know. It all felt like it disjointed and just like the action is poorly staged, and it's just, I don't know. It's just poorly directed, and people who don't understand what that means will talk about the writing and we'll talk about this or that, but it was poorly directed. The shot choices and everything were just. And the performances I felt were weaker.
It was
and I'd like to see Fennec Shand do something besides stand next to Boba and glare at everybody. That would be interesting to see her have more.
I think they should have done, if you wanted to do a Boba Fett show, it should have been all about, it should have been, okay, we're going to show you how he got out of the Rancor and the present day, Rancor, the Sarlacc pit, but the present day stuff should have been him trying to escape from the Sarlacc pit, and the bulk of it should have been the flashbacks, and that should have been the story. And you give Fennec Shand either her own show or have her continue in The Mandalorian, because you're right. I think it's like, what is the point of her being in the show other than to stand there and be cool, which Ming-Na is, but I don't know.
She gets
falling flat.
She gets some business, she gets some action, but She doesn't do that much, and it's mostly about Boba Fett, which is fine. I think Tamara Morrison's actually doing a better job. He's kind of warming to the character now, or figuring it out more. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what her point. I mean, I guess maybe the point was when Stephen Root's character talks about they do stuff with their bodies and put mechanical parts, and then she goes, "Motherfucker, I've got mechanical parts in my body too."
That's right.
And which they don't. Which she's like pissed about looking at him, but because she can his obvious disdain for cybernetic enhancements. I'm like. That's the thing I don't understand. Everyone, it's like you get your hand cut off in a lightsaber duel with your dad, and you get a mechanical hand. No one complains about that, right? So
that seems to be like the common. It seems like you'd go to the equivalent of the 7-Eleven. It's like, oh, got to go get a new hand. So yeah, you're right. It's like, why is that such a? And then
it's a big deal.
And I didn't understand the Hutt twins. Just like at the end, like, oh no, you're cool. It's all forgiven. It's like what?
It's a trap.
Well, yeah. I think it would have been nice if BK would have said, yeah, you know what? If you don't mind, I'd kind of like to stick around and.
Yeah, but BK is expensive. They can't just have a Wookiee in the show every time.
I guess that's true.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm sort of have fatigue about who the factions are. It's like, oh, it's these the Pikes, and it's like, oh, the mayor. And it's like, if you're going to do that, that's fine, but it's not the freaking Sopranos. I'm sorry. It's just, I don't know.
Especially not for like 6 or 8 episodes. It's like that's. I don't know.
Well, maybe also the thing that I was explaining to people is that this is Disney and Star Wars are for kids, so that's why the scooters, because they got to sell toys. Those toys are going to show up in the stores.
Absolutely. Well, maybe not because this episode didn't take off too well. But
I guess people don't. Whatever. You know what?
It's still a decent show, and I'm still going to watch it. I just. I would like them to keep. I think Robert Rodriguez is directing one more episode, and I'm just like concerned. I don't know. I'm not looking.
Has no one ever watched his movies? I don't know.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I have, and I'm like, is this a case where it's like, oh, we got Robert Rodriguez directing, but it's this dude from Oklahoma and not the one you think it is? Because I mean,
maybe
it's a completely different Robert Rodriguez, because that's what it feels like. Just look, I'm like, this is not the guy that directed those movies.
If you look at his films, though, they are all kind of similar, and this seems like, it seems like
they're at least edited well and have good performances. So I don't know.
I don't know. Well, I mean, that's the thing about TV. TV is supposed to be more director-proof, right? Because you have producers that are running things, and the director just comes in as a guest. But that's why I think that him being a producer is sort of influencing the show in a negative way, for sure.
Maybe Book of Boba Fett is the Star Wars equivalent of Star Trek movies, only the even-numbered episodes will be decent.
Maybe. That's true. Yeah, because 2 was good, and hopefully 4 will be good, too, because it's not him. So, I mean, there's definitely things to like, but I'm getting faction fatigue, and I know there's going to be, some... The twins aren't going to just leave and never do anything. I'm going back to Hutt now. So Hutt, I mean, obviously that's an expensive shot to have them in the scenes too, but I don't know. I feel like Disney has plenty of money, so there must be a story reason, and I got to try to trust Favreau. I got to try to trust Filoni that they have a plan. It's just when episodes like this come, it's harder to do that, I guess, but anyway, whatever. I'm not making a TV show, so what do I know?
Exactly.
So if I want, I could just make my own Star Wars where Boba Fett and BK go off and kick ass.
There you go. We should do that.
Because they did in the comics, they do work together at one point for Jabba, oddly enough. But
well, that's what I'm saying. That it should have been, hey, how about I offer you a job? And they could have been. They could have him like in the finale. It could be like next episode. It's like, oh, we sent BK to go get power converters from Tashi Station or something.
Yeah.
The reasons why he's not around.
Did you give him any money? No, we don't need to give him money.
No, but he's going to get some power converters. He'll be back.
No problem. Yeah, I think that they didn't do that because Boba's got Fennec Shand, and so Fennec is supposed to be his sidekick. You can't have BK too do stuff. But yeah, I'm sure the Wookiee will show up again at some point, probably at the pivotal moment. Because now it doesn't look like Boba's going to get his sand people coming out of the hills and the rising sun. Unfortunately,
they're not going to be the cavalry. It's like, whoa, that was a little dark.
Well, it sets up his animosity to the whatever they are, right?
Well, that's true.
The clan of the cave bear, whatever they're called. But
clan of the cave bear.
I don't know. That's an old movie. Sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, obviously he's got a history with. Are we gonna assume it's the Pikes and these guys who work together, kind of thing, maybe? Or
I guess at this point, I don't even know.
I don't know. So, is it supposed to be a limited show, or are they going to do more? I wonder.
They haven't said it's limited series, so if it like The Mandalorian, it does well, I'm sure they'll do more. I think it's doing pretty good.
It was nice to see Mos Eisley again, but
yeah, that was fun.
Anyway, that's the thing about it. It's like there's definitely cool parts. They just don't add up to.
No,
they don't add up to something necessarily. Whereas the second episode, I thought added up to more things. Then this episode did not. It had some interesting stuff, but not enough necessarily.
That's what I was saying. It was like this episode was like 5 or 6 steps back. I mean, the second episode was like, oh, okay, so we found our footing, and we got a good groove, and we know what we're doing. And then this one was like, wait, what just happened?
Yeah.
So
yeah, but again, it's Star Wars, and
we'll watch it.
We'll still watch it. So, and I don't give up on things. It's not as bad as Why the Last Man was last season. So.
Absolutely, which is actually finally dead now. The creator said, yeah, we shopped it around, nobody wanted it, so we're calling it a day.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I hate to see people not get jobs and not be able to fulfill their creative vision or whatever, but maybe it just wasn't working out. So
nope,
just wasn't working out, man.
Nope, and that's okay. Maybe
just sell your woke bullshit somewhere else. No.
Maybe in like 10 years or 5 years or something, somebody will try again with a movie or another series. Because I think it's definitely a cool story. It would be great to see it done well, but this just wasn't.
It's
done
funny
well for whatever reason.
It wasn't, and it's funny to see. I thought, well, maybe no one wants a pandemic show, or maybe nobody wants this, or whatever. It was just poorly written and poorly executed. And then you have a show like Station 11, which is also post-pandemic show, and orders of magnitude better. Sure, that's based on a well-received novel, but Why the Last Man was based on well-received graphic novels or comics. So
right.
You changed your source material too much. I don't know, but it just depends. So I was disappointed that it didn't work out, but like you said, maybe we'll see it again in the future sometime.
I think if you're adapting something, especially if it's a book, The Expanse, I think, has taught us you want to include the original writer or writers or original creators. And I know the Brian K. Vaughan and Pia Guerra were executive producers or whatever on Why the Last Man. I just don't feel like they had a lot of input or were included in some of the decisions made. Not to say that any of the decisions for changing things were wrong. I think they were all well-intentioned, as we've discussed before. I'm sure everybody was set out to make something that was awesome. And for whatever reason, sometimes it just doesn't work, and it didn't here. And I don't think it's not anything to do with wokeness or any, bullshit like that the conservatives want to attack it for. I just think it just didn't work. And maybe it's the curse of every show having a weak first season, and it's possible it would have picked up and improved as they went, but it just, I don't know. It just wasn't quite there. So
it wasn't. But although you could make the case that the first season of The Expanse was sort of not weak, but then you take something like Game of Thrones, which had a great first season.
Right. Exactly.
Just depends. But making TV is hard, and sometimes you get it wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope we see another Why the Last Man someday.
Yep.
And I'd like more Station 11, but I'm probably not going to get that. So anyway, but that was my pick last week. So we should go to picks. Speaking of picks.
We should. You want to go ahead first?
Sure. I'm going to pick another TV show, and a show that I talked about already on this episode, but also on our Best Of episode a few weeks ago. It's on Showtime, which I don't know if everybody has Showtime, but you can probably see it other places too. But I'm going to pick a show called Yellowjackets.
Okay.
The premise is girls' soccer team crash lands in the mountains, and shit goes south pretty quickly, as you can expect. The winter's coming and they're running out of food, kind of thing. But it's cool because they tell the story of the girls at the crash site, basically, and then they flash forward to some of them as adults, and it's that part which is almost more interesting. It's like, how did these people, what happened to them, and how did they evolve into these adults that they are, and all the fucked up things they have to go through because of what they went through as kids. It's got Melanie Linsky in it, Juliette Lewis, Christina Ricci, Great cast, great performances. Rika Sharma from Battlestar Galactica actually is in it too.
So I want to ask this question, and I mean it
Yes.
in all seriousness, and I know it's going to sound like a flippant question, but this will let me know how they're writing the show. Doesn't showing the present day people absolutely spoil and give away who doesn't survive in the past?
It's who they're following on the show, the adults that are following or that they're following. There could be others. In fact, there are, I'm sure, others. It's just these are the sort of main characters in the present.
Okay.
And what they're dealing with. But as the flashbacks or whatever you want to call the timelines evolve, you realize what happened to some people and why maybe they're not around, but also some of the people that you think didn't survive or whatever, or haven't shown up, you don't know yet. The season finale is this week, so I'm sure they're not going to resolve everything. But I just love, I don't know, the characters. It's more of a character piece, which I appreciate. It's like, who are these people, and how are they dealing? Okay. How are they dealing with their PTSD? Obviously, their huge amount of trauma, and how has it kind of fucked up their lives? But it's funny. It has a lot of great needle drops, a lot of great songs. Because
cool.
they crash landed in the 90s, which I'm like, yes, cool. So it makes you think, and it's smart, and I'm just enjoying it a lot. It's just, and it's crazy too in a way. It's just like weird kind of shit, and it has some scary elements. It's like, these kids are having a problem. It's like they're a bunch of teenage girls stuck in a,
right.
It's like, what's going to happen? And some bad shit happens, and it just gets worse, and who knows? It's a little bit Lord of the Flies. It's a little bit, whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's cool.
Cool.
I enjoy it a lot. So Yellowjackets, it's definitely a show worth your time, I think.
Excellent. Cool. Yeah.
What's your picks?
I'm going to pick a movie, and you know what? I'm going to apologize ahead of time. This might have been a movie you picked, but I looked and listened, and I don't think you did. But for some reason, I feel like you brought this movie up. But I'm going to pick The French Dispatch. It's the new Wes Anderson movie.
Yeah, we talked about it. I think we talked about Wes Anderson a lot, probably. So no, I don't know if I picked that, but it's good. Okay. I liked it a lot. Yeah,
it's his latest movie, and for whatever reason, it's getting a lot of mainly from people I know that are in the industry. It's getting a lot of flack, but I thoroughly enjoyed it, and actually want to watch it again because I feel like there's a lot more to be seen and heard in it. But if you're, this is probably, I said before that Peacemaker felt like kind of peak James Gunn. This almost feels like peak Wes Anderson. I mean, I've always kind of liked his movies, even his stop motion animation movies I thought were pretty terrific. I guess if you like Wes Anderson's aesthetic and the way he shoots things and the actors he uses and chooses, then you'll love this movie. It's pretty great. I mean, it's basically based about a fictional newspaper or magazine called the French Dispatch, but it's the foreign bureau in France of a hometown paper back in the States, and now I forget the country or the state that it's based out of. But it's quirky, it's weird, and it's done in several sections that are like sections of a magazine, like the food section or the crime section and stuff like that. And each of the sections are kind of filmed and shot in a different way. And the common thread throughout all of them is the editor of the magazine and the owner, which is played by Bill Murray in a very understated but beautiful way. And it's all kind of pinned on the fact that he dies, so it's showing you the magazine and basically the writers and journalists that he's influenced and how he's put this thing together, and leads to a really kind of beautiful and heartwarming epilogue to the movie. So I don't want to say too much because I mean, it's no like Expanse or Star Wars movie, but there are things that are not worth spoiling that are fun to see as you go. So I can't recommend it highly enough. If you love Wes Anderson movies, I think you'll love this one. If you've never seen one before, this is a good intro and will give you a really good idea of how he puts together movies. And there's a few I haven't seen yet that I want to go back and watch. but he's I don't know. I really like him. So anyway, I'll stop.
It's okay. You think this is the best one for intros?
Yeah,
I would say, like you said, I think it's peak Wes Anderson. I would almost say it's too much Wes Anderson for noobs, maybe.
I would say if you watch this and go, wow, I really like that, you're gonna like the rest of his movies. Maybe that's what I mean by intro.
I would go to Royal Tenenbaums if you're going to try. If you want to figure out what Wes Anderson's all about, I would say that's the good entry point.
Yeah, that's
and then maybe do Grand Budapest.
Yeah,
and then do this one. I don't know if you could. This is very dense. I mean,
it's so great though.
It is but it's like the ultimate sort of quirkiness with Wes Anderson, and also the Wes Anderson players are all in attendance. So you can see sort of the evolution of that. But yeah, I mean, there's so many people in this thing that are excellent, and it's almost. I don't know if this is what people are responding to. Some people are responding to, but it's almost like he's almost a parody of himself in some ways in this one, at least.
Maybe.
I feel like it's like he probably said, I make this kind of movie. I'm going to make it the most kind of movie like that I possibly can. It's almost too much in some way. Not that I didn't like it. I did. I liked it a lot, but it's not my favorite of his.
I mean, all the scenes for me felt like they were framed and shot as if they were a photograph or an illustration in a magazine, which completely fit.
Oh, definitely.
What the movie was going for. So maybe you're right. Maybe it would be too much to throw at someone right off the bat and maybe start them in slow. But like I said, if somebody watches this and is like, wow, this is just a unique and different movie, it's like, well, let me show you the rest of his movies then.
Right. Well, that's why I would say Tannenbaums, because it's quirky,
that's probably true.
But it's still grounded in reality. It's a weird family that lives in New York, and it's like weird shit that they do, but it's not so much of that. Maybe I don't know, and I could be totally wrong. It's just my impression of this was, wow, it is, like you said, is the most Wes Anderson film ever.
Yes,
and it really is. It's like Wes Anderson to the nth degree. It's like Wes Anderson plus, which is not a bad thing if you like it, but it might be too much for the casual viewer who just wants to get into it. So,
if I didn't see that he was already working on a couple other movies, I would have thought that this was his I'm out. This is it.
This is it. Now I'm gonna do superhero films.
Yeah, exactly. Now I'm gonna do a 3-picture deal with Marvel. Or
Wes
DC.
Anderson presents the Fantastic Four. I'm just saying.
Oh, dude.
Okay, I mean you joke about that, but that would be a weird.
Wes Anderson doing a Fantastic Four movie as a 60s period piece, like the original comic. That I would totally watch that.
It would be like the origins, but then modern day too. It would be Wes Anderson doing the X-Men, but I would say doing the Fantastic Four because it's a family. It's a Marvel's first family, so it's like it's crazy, but it would be. I would watch the shit out of that. But
I just think it's funny that, and I'm probably the only one that finds this interesting that this year we got a Wes Anderson and a Paul Thomas Anderson movie together in the same year.
That's crazy, man.
And only because of COVID, really. We got, excuse me. We got French Dispatch and Licorice Pizza in the same year. It's like, wow, that's kind of
not
weird.
A Paul W.S. Anderson film, did we?
No, we didn't get. Wait, when did? No, I guess he didn't do the latest Resident Evil.
He did not do the latest Resident Evil.
No, okay. So
that would have been cool, though. The Anderson hat trick right there.
Yeah, exactly. So
listen, I'm for any movie with Tilda Swinton, so I'm down.
She is just. I could talk a whole podcast about her. The breadth of characters that she's played and how different. She's such a chameleon. It's crazy. I mean, there was even talk, and maybe she did, or maybe they're going to do it. There was talk that she was going to play Bowie in a movie at one point. I was like, I would totally believe that.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought she was Bowie, but I'm just saying,
exactly.
Bowie's not really dead. He's just Tilda Swinton now. But it's just, I could totally see that. Absolutely, she could pull that off. Amazing. Chameleon is the right word. It's like subsumed is one of my favorite words into the role, and just takes it on. I mean, I think that one of her underrated performances maybe was in Constantine. I thought that she was excellent in that. In fact,
absolutely.
I feel like that elevated the entire movie with her being in it. I'd like to see another Constantine. Hopefully we'll get one. Keanu is like, I've always been trying to make another Constantine. I don't know why they haven't.
Everybody involved is game for it, and they sound like they're edging closer to it. So
maybe it should be like an HBO Max show.
I would absolutely. I liked that movie. I know it's like, oh, they made him American, they changed this, and it's like I don't care though.
He wasn't gay enough, man. No.
Yeah, they did a really good job with it. I thought it was a great movie, and I would see more of that. That would be
well, it had to be more mainstream. Obviously, they can't really make Constantine exactly as in the comics, but that's okay.
Right.
I mean, you could do that more now, maybe, because if it's done for the right price, or if it's done for HBO Max or whatever, you could definitely make him more.
They are doing a new series for HBO Max with Constantine, so we'll see how that works out.
There you go. So, all right, cool. Find the Flickcast at Spotify, at Apple Podcasts, at Stitcher, and other places that you find podcasts. Joe and I are on the socials. Joe is at What Joe Writes, and I am at Chris Yu, and also Ulrich Picks on Instagram. And you can find the Flickcast at TheFlickcast, because we're not that imaginative. We just came up with the name. So there you go.
There you go.
You can also find our Patreon, patreon.com/TheFlickcast. There it is again. And you can throw the show a few bucks if you want to, and support people making independent content like we are, because we don't have that Spotify fuck you money yet. But who knows? Someday, maybe.
Someday, you never know.
All I got to do is say controversial shit. Who knows? But
we'll just make stuff up.
Just make shit up. I mean, I feel like we made this entire show up right now. But
we did.
From scratch. I don't even have any notes, man. That's what I do.
All natural, grass-fed ingredients.
Grass-fed, cage-free.
Yes, exactly.
No hormones. None of that stuff. 100% organic. 75% organic. But
sure.
Anyway, anything else, Joe?
I think that's probably a good way to go out.
That's a good way to go out. All right. So for Joe Dilworth, I'm Chris Ulrich. That was the Flickcast. Thanks so much for listening.